A mosquito weighs only a few milligrams, yet it can find you in a crowded park, approach without making a sound, land on your skin, take your blood, and disappear before you even notice it was there. Most of the time, the first sign of its visit is the itch that appears minutes later. By then, the mosquito is already gone, searching for its next target. This tiny insect does not wander through the air by chance. It begins hunting long before it reaches your skin. Every breath you exhale releases carbon dioxide, creating an invisible trail that spreads through the air. Mosquitoes can detect that trail from surprisingly far away. As they fly closer, they begin adding more clues. Your body gives off heat. Your skin releases hundreds of chemical compounds through sweat and natural oils. Together, these signals create something like a biological fingerprint that helps guide the mosquito to a living host. The final approach is remarkably precise. Instead of crashing onto your arm or face, the mosquito often circles first, searching for a safe place to land. It avoids sudden movement and prefers areas where blood vessels lie close to the surface. Even the soft buzz people associate with mosquitoes usually comes from individuals flying nearby rather than the one already feeding. Once it lands, its movements become almost impossible to feel. What looks like a simple bite is actually the last step of a carefully coordinated hunt. Every stage, from detecting your breath to choosing the exact landing spot, has been refined over millions of years. Yet one part of the story remains hidden. The blood itself is not the mosquito's everyday meal, and that unexpected detail changes the entire reason it comes looking for us. The idea that mosquitoes live on blood sounds obvious. After all, that is exactly what we see them collecting. But blood is not the food that keeps a mosquito alive. For most of its life, a mosquito survives on flower nectar and other plant sugars. Those sugars provide the energy needed to fly, search for mates, and continue living. In that respect, mosquitoes behave much like many other insects that visit flowers every day. This is also why only female mosquitoes bite. Male mosquitoes lack both the need and the equipment to feed on blood. They spend their entire lives drinking nectar and never pierce human skin. A female follows the same diet until a new generation depends on something plants cannot provide. Producing eggs demands far more than simple energy. It requires large amounts of protein, iron, and other nutrients that are abundant in the blood of animals. Once a female has mated, her priorities change completely. Instead of searching only for flowers, she begins searching for a host. A successful blood meal supplies the raw materials needed for her eggs to mature. After digesting the blood, she develops a batch of eggs, lays them in or near standing water, and then begins the cycle again. Many species repeat this process several times during their lives, which means the hunt for blood is tied directly to reproduction rather than survival. That small difference explains why mosquitoes have evolved into such determined hunters. They are not feeding themselves as much as investing in the next generation. Every successful bite increases the chance that hundreds of new mosquitoes will hatch. But collecting blood is far from simple. Human skin is designed to keep things out, and beneath it lies a defensive system that reacts the moment an intruder breaks through. Finding a person is only half the challenge. The real test begins after the mosquito lands. Human skin is a strong barrier built to keep the outside world where it belongs. A mosquito cannot simply stab through it with a hollow needle. Its mouth is far more specialized than that. What appears to be a single long beak is actually a bundle of delicate tools working together. The outer sheath bends as the mosquito presses against the skin, exposing several needle-like structures hidden inside. Some help anchor the insect in place. Others gently separate the skin rather than tearing through it. Another searches beneath the surface, probing until it reaches a tiny blood vessel. This process can take several seconds, yet it usually happens without attracting attention. Reaching the blood is only the beginning. The moment a blood vessel is pierced, the mosquito faces another obstacle. Human blood is designed to clot quickly whenever a vessel is damaged. Without that response, even small injuries could become dangerous. For the mosquito, however, clotting would block the flow almost immediately and end the meal before it had really begun. To prevent that, the mosquito injects a small amount of saliva into the wound. This saliva contains a remarkable mixture of compounds that slow blood clotting and keep the blood flowing smoothly. Some components widen tiny blood vessels, allowing more blood to reach the feeding site. Others reduce the body's immediate ability to seal the wound. Scientists are still studying every ingredient in mosquito saliva, and some effects differ between species, but together they create just enough time for the mosquito to feed efficiently. By the time the insect lifts off, it has usually escaped unnoticed. Yet the saliva it leaves behind does not go undetected for long. Within minutes, the human immune system begins recognizing those foreign proteins, and the body's response becomes far more noticeable than the bite itself. If you watch a mosquito feeding, you'll notice something surprising. The bite itself is often painless. The mosquito has already finished drinking and flown away before anything feels unusual. The familiar itch that follows is not the mosquito continuing to feed, it is your own body responding to what the mosquito left behind. The moment mosquito saliva enters the skin, your immune system begins examining it. Those proteins that helped keep the blood flowing are recognized as foreign substances. Specialized immune cells quickly release chemical signals that alert the surrounding tissue. One of the most important is histamine, a molecule that helps coordinate the body's early defense against potential threats. Histamine changes the tiny blood vessels around the bite. They widen, allowing more blood and immune cells to reach the area. Fluid leaks into the surrounding tissue, creating the small raised bump that most people recognize within minutes. At the same time, histamine stimulates nearby nerve endings. Those nerves send signals to the brain, which interprets them as itching. Scratching may feel satisfying for a moment because it temporarily interrupts those signals, but it also irritates the skin further, often making the inflammation last even longer. Not everyone reacts in exactly the same way. Someone who has been bitten many times may develop a milder response because their immune system has become more familiar with certain mosquito proteins. Others react much more strongly, producing larger swellings that remain for days. Young children often experience bigger reactions because their immune systems are encountering these proteins for the first time. Different mosquito species also produce slightly different saliva, meaning one bite may trigger a stronger reaction than another. The itch is evidence that your body noticed the intrusion, but it also reveals something else. Mosquitoes do not succeed equally with every person they encounter. Long before a bite happens, they are already making choices about which human is worth pursuing. Spend an evening outdoors with a group of friends, and an odd pattern often appears. One person keeps swatting mosquitoes away, while someone sitting right beside them is barely bothered. It can feel as though mosquitoes simply have favorites. In reality, they are responding to a combination of biological signals, some stronger than others. The first clue is the one every person produces with every breath. Carbon dioxide is the mosquito's long-range guide, helping it detect potential hosts from a distance. People who exhale more carbon dioxide, including larger adults and those engaged in physical activity, often become easier to locate. As the mosquito closes in, it begins relying less on the breath and more on the chemicals released from the skin. Human skin is home to billions of harmless bacteria, and these microbes break down sweat into a wide variety of scent molecules. Every person has a slightly different community of skin bacteria, creating a unique odor profile. Research has shown that some of these chemical combinations are especially attractive to certain mosquito species. Body temperature also matters. Warm skin creates stronger heat signals, helping the mosquito identify a good landing spot during its final approach. Other influences are less predictable. Pregnant women are generally more attractive to mosquitoes because they exhale more carbon dioxide and tend to have slightly higher body temperatures. Drinking alcohol has also been linked in several studies to increase mosquito attraction, although scientists are still investigating exactly why. Blood type is often mentioned as another factor. Some research suggests that people with type O blood may receive more bites than those with other blood groups, but the evidence remains mixed, and it is unlikely to be the deciding factor on its own. Even with all these preferences, mosquitoes are not choosing people out of malice. They are following the strongest signals available. Unfortunately, that remarkable ability to find the right host has consequences far beyond an itchy bump, because sometimes the mosquito carries far more than its own saliva. For most people, a mosquito bite ends with a few days of itching before it disappears completely. The mosquito takes a small amount of blood, the skin heals, and life goes on. But in many parts of the world, the bite itself is only the beginning. The real danger is something the mosquito may have picked up from its previous host. Mosquitoes do not create diseases on their own. Instead, they act as carriers. When a female mosquito feeds on an infected person or animal, some parasites or viruses enter her body along with the blood. Certain pathogens survive the journey, multiply inside the mosquito, and eventually reach its salivary glands. The next time that mosquito feeds, the pathogen enters a new host along with the saliva that keeps the blood flowing. The mosquito has unknowingly become part of the disease's life cycle. Different mosquitoes spread different illnesses. Malaria is caused by parasites of the Plasmodium group, which depend on mosquitoes to move between people. Dengue, yellow fever, Zika, and West Nile disease are caused by viruses that also rely on mosquito bites for transmission. Without mosquitoes, these pathogens would struggle to reach new hosts, and many would disappear from large parts of the world. This tiny insect has shaped human history in ways few animals ever have. Mosquito-borne diseases have influenced where people settled, affected military campaigns, slowed the construction of major projects, and continue to place enormous pressure on healthcare systems across tropical and subtropical regions. Even today, millions of people become infected every year, despite extensive efforts to control mosquito populations. The mosquito never evolved to spread human disease. It evolved to reproduce successfully. Yet, by becoming one of nature's most efficient blood feeders, it also became the perfect vehicle for some of humanity's deadliest pathogens. That outcome was not intentional, but it transformed a simple bite into one of the most consequential interactions between humans and another animal. The next time a mosquito lands on your arm, it may feel like nothing more than a minor annoyance. In reality, that brief encounter is the latest chapter in a struggle that has been unfolding for millions of years. Every adaptation the mosquito possesses exists because it improved the chances of finding blood, producing eggs, and passing those traits to the next generation. At the same time, humans and other animals have evolved defenses that make that task as difficult as possible. Our bodies react almost instantly when the skin is pierced. Blood begins clotting, immune cells rush to the site, and inflammation helps limit potential infections. Mosquitoes evolve saliva that delays some of those defenses just long enough to complete a meal. As hosts become harder to feed on, natural selection favors mosquitoes that locate people more efficiently, avoid detection, or feed more quickly. Neither side ever gains a permanent advantage. Each improvement creates pressure for another. Humans have added a new layer to this contest. Window screens, insect repellents, bed nets, and mosquito control programs have prevented countless bites. Scientists continue developing new approaches, from targeting mosquito breeding sites to exploring genetic techniques that could reduce populations or make mosquitoes less capable of spreading disease. These methods are powerful, but mosquitoes are remarkably adaptable. Some populations have developed resistance to commonly used insecticides, reminding us that evolution does not stop because new technology appears. That persistence explains why mosquitoes remain among the most successful insects on Earth. They are not driven by aggression or a taste for human blood. They are following a strategy shaped by natural selection, one that has allowed them to survive changing climates, shifting landscapes, and countless generations of hosts. An itchy bump may disappear within days, but it represents something far larger than a simple bite. It is the visible trace of an ancient biological contest, one that continues every time a mosquito finds its next human host.